Welcome to the Explainer. For families of children with special needs, navigating state-funded care can feel like trying to solve an impossible maze. So today, we're going to draw you a map. Okay, I want to start with just one number, nearly 700,000. And that is the staggering number of Americans, and yeah, a huge portion of them are kids, who are stuck on waiting lists right now for critical in-home care through Medicaid. And look, that's not just a statistic, right? For so many families, it's a real daily crisis. The wait for this essential support can drag on for years. But here's the thing. What if I told you that it's not actually one single impossibly long line? What if there are actually two very different paths you can take? All right, so let's get into it. The absolute key to navigating this whole system, and maybe even getting care years sooner, is understanding this one thing. There are two totally separate ways to get these services. And which path you're on, well, that depends entirely on which state you call home. So what you're seeing here is the fundamental split in the system. And this isn't just some small procedural difference. It's a massive philosophical divide in how states handle care. Path 1, that's your TEFRA, or Katie Beckett option. Think of that as an entitlement. It's like a guaranteed ticket if you meet the criteria. But Path 2, the HCBS waiver system, well, that's a whole different story. It's much more like a lottery. There are only so many spots, and the wait times can be just excruciating. Okay, so let's start with the fast track. This is Path 1, the TEFR, or Katie Beckett option. And let me tell you, for families with kids who have really high medical needs, this is an absolute game changer. So what does it do? Well, at its core, this program does something really, really smart. It basically tells the state to look at the child's income and resources as if they were a household of one. It completely ignores the parent's income. And that one simple change, it throws the door wide open to full Medicaid benefits for kids and families that, based on their income, would never, ever qualify otherwise. Now, I gotta be clear, the eligibility rules here are super specific, and they are pretty strict. The child has to be under 19, they have to meet the official Social Security definition of disability, and this is key, they have to need a level of care that you'd normally find in a hospital or some other kind of specialized facility. Oh, and the cost of caring for them at home can't be more than it would be to care for them in that institution. And this, right here, is the single most powerful part of this whole thing. If a child qualifies in a state that has this program, they get the services, period. It's an entitlement. That means no line, no lottery, and absolutely no waiting list. You're in. Okay, so now let's talk about the other path. Path 2. This is where that massive 700,000 person line comes from. Welcome to the world of HCBS waivers, or Home and Community-Based Services waivers. And don't get me wrong, these waivers can be incredible. I mean, they offer life-changing, long-term support that goes way beyond what standard medical care covers. But you see that one little word there? Optional. That's the key word. That single word gives states the green light to cap enrollment, to say, sorry, we only have this many spots. And that is what creates these massive wait lists. So just how long are we talking? Well, on average, a child with an intellectual or developmental disability waits 37 months for one of these waiver spots to open up. Think about that. That is more than 3 years of waiting for support that could completely change their life. And get this, it gets even more complicated. Even the way a state manages its wait list makes a huge difference. So in states that actually check if a child is eligible before putting them on the list, the average wait is around 32 months. Still long, right? But in states that just use these unscreened interest lists, that wait time explodes to 49 months. That's a 17-month difference, over a year longer, just to maybe find out if you even qualify in the first place. And all of this really brings us to a pretty stark reality, doesn't it? When it comes to getting care for your child, it is a zip code lottery. Where you live is, without a doubt, the single most important factor in how quickly you can get help. I mean, just look at this data for a second. In Tennessee, which uses that interest list model we were just talking about, you've got over 328,000 people waiting. Now, compare that to a state like Arizona, which has 0 people on its wait list. 0. The difference is just unbelievable, and it's what families are dealing with every single day. This quote from our source material really just nails it, doesn't it? A family's ability to secure immediate essential health services is highly dependent on their state's policy choice. A state's choice, that's what it comes down to. And honestly, this is exactly why it is so important for parents to do the research on a state before even thinking about moving there. Okay, so if you're a caregiver and you're looking at this whole overwhelming system, you're probably asking, what can I actually do? Well, it turns out there's a really clear 3-step strategy you can use to give yourself the best possible shot at getting the care your child needs. The best strategy, hands down, is what's called a dual-track approach. Basically, you have to play both games at the same time. Step 1. If your state has that TEFRA or Katie Beckett program, you apply immediately. That is your fast track. Then, at the very same time, you get your child's name on every single HCBS waiver waitlist they might qualify for. That's how you secure their spot in that long-term line. Okay, so while you're playing the long game on those waiver waitlists, step 3 is all about finding what's called gap filler care. See, a lot of states know their systems are totally backlogged, so they've created these other non-Medicaid programs to help families just survive the wait. We're talking about things like respite programs or flexible financial aid. Now, keeping track of all these state-specific programs can feel impossible, and that is exactly where a resource designed for parents like AskStellaNow.org can be an absolute lifesaver. So, we'll leave you with this question to think about. When a child's access to truly life-changing healthcare is decided not by their needs, not by their diagnosis, but by their zip code, doesn't that force us to ask some bigger questions? Questions about fairness, about equity, and about our national promise to support our most vulnerable citizens.